the next speaker that we have for you, his name is Brian Allen. He is the Senior VP of Sales and Business Development for Business to Blogger, and he comes from Durant, Oklahoma, or as he corrected me in the wings a moment ago, Durant, Oklahoma. So it's Kevin Durant, and I never realized. So I looked at his LinkedIn profile, and I really like this review. From DJ Johnson, he said, this recommendation for Brian: if you're looking for anything related to the internet, Brian is an expert web nerd. That is a recommendation from a guy who does not understand digital marketing. Brian does understand digital marketing, 10 years in automotive digital marketing, and I'd like to bring him out on the stage, so please give him a warm Confluence welcome.
Well, thanks, and I apologize in advance. I picked analytics, and I know that we just had some great tacos back there, so stay awake. I've brought my chickens with me to explain this to you. So I work for Business to Blogger, and what we do is influencer marketing. So we have some of the biggest bloggers out there that do sponsored posts, and we attribute that with digital marketing, pushing it with display, retargeting, paid search, intender emails, and the like. So how do we attribute this? You know, right now, in this time in history, we can attribute more to marketing than we ever have been before. It's a great time to be a marketer. Wouldn't you agree? We can say the pay-per-click sold this many cars. We can say the display brought this many visitors to your website, right? The email got this many signups on your blog. And so we've never been able to do this before in history. So here's just a little bit about how we do that. And you're saying, what's going on here, dude? You just brought your chickens on a slide. These are my pet chickens. I have 10 chickens, all different kinds from all over the place. They lay all different colors of eggs, right? And I did this on purpose because I like going out and seeing Easter in my backyard every single day, okay? My kids really love the chickens. We've named them all. I've got one that's gray named Gandalf, and yes, she's female, but I really like the Lord of the Rings. So the big thing is that being a nerd, sitting there watching my chickens, I know that on average I get 7 to 9 eggs a day, and every third day I don't get any eggs. I might get 1 or 2. And I know that every other day I get like 5 or 6 eggs. I know that some days they lay all the eggs in the nest number 1. I know the second day they lay all their eggs in nest number 2, okay? There's no eggs in nest number 3. They don't like that nest. However, yesterday my son went out to check that nest, and there were eggs in that nest. So it messed up my whole presentation. I had to completely redo it. But yes, I go back into my office and I track this on a spreadsheet, and I try to figure out which chickens are laying which eggs, okay? Because I've got black and white chickens, I've got brown chickens, I've got dark red chickens, I've got Easter egger chickens that lay green eggs. Do you remember that? And the green eggs are just beautiful. And then these speckled eggs, they come from chickens called Welsummers, which are chickens from Germany. So I love the chickens, but I got to figure out which chickens are laying which eggs. I want to know which days they're laying them on. I want to know how to make the chickens. The chickens are kind of like your wife. The happier they are, the more eggs they lay. So I keep them fed. I let them out in the yard, right? I let them out in the yard. I walk them around. You know, I've been married for 14 years. I know these things, right? So I want to know if I can increase their happiness levels, will they lay me more eggs? You know, and you're taking this too far, dude. Stop talking now. Get off the stage, all right? But it's gonna make sense, I promise. So with chickens, you have to put them in a box and see which egg they lay. Sometimes this takes a day, 2 days, or 3 days. If we liken this to Google Analytics and digital marketing, we have different channels. We have display, we have pre-roll, we have pay-per-click, we have keyword groups, we have emails, we have campaigns. TV's not on there, is it? Because it's traditional. It's kind of hard to track that. But now we can track pre-roll, right? How many clicks, how many views, where it came from, where it ran, how long it ran, what our average run rate was. And so we can do this through Google Analytics, okay? So Google Analytics, I'm going to use that because it's a free tool. We all can sign up for it. We all can use it. We all probably have used it. I'm going to show you very quickly how to build a UTM tool, okay? At the bottom here, at that little Google URL, I have a UTM builder spreadsheet prepared for you guys. We do hundreds of UTMs every single month for all different kinds of businesses because we want to attribute the different links to different campaigns, to different sources. We want to know where it came from. We want to know which link on which email the person was clicking in off of. We want to know what time of day it was. We want to know how many pages they viewed. If they bounced off, what's wrong with the page, right? Do some A/B testing. So UTM codes. How many people have used UTM codes in here? Okay. So at the end of today, when you go home or you go back to the office and you say to your office, okay, we're going to get on this UTM thing, okay? And because it's all free and all you got to do is plug it into a URL. And so you're going to tell whoever your guy who's going to be doing it, these are what I need to think about. First of all, you have your URL, which is whatever website you would normally have, wherever your link is, right? So business2blogger/blog, okay? Then you would have a question mark, and it would say equals src parentheses, and that would be your source. So what is your source going to be? Where was it traditionally? We want to know where your customers are coming from, if they came from that 5-day sale. We want to know if they came from Google or Bing, right? So let's split that out and let's say, okay, you're an agency or you're a PR firm, you've got a client, you want to set up, let's say an influencer marketing campaign, okay? So the links at the bottom of the sponsored post, you could actually put the UTM on there and the source could be the name of your PR firm. So we like to put B2B on ours because it's pretty short and it's easy, right? And then the medium is whatever you are using. So if it's an email, or if it's a sponsored post, or if it's paid search, or if it's display, or whatever it might be, then you want to attribute that. I'm going to show you here in a little bit why we're going to attribute from whatever the medium is. Term, I don't necessarily use this. I've used it in the past to break down the campaigns a little further. It's not required, but the term you can actually, it's supposed to be for keywords, but I usually put like 0915 in there, right? So I know which month it came from because we do a lot of these things. And then the content, it's not required, but you can put what kind of content is in there, like 2015 Toyota Corolla, right? And then the campaign name, which is actually what campaign you're running. So it might be Toyota Super Sizzler Sale, okay? Just remember that whatever you write in here, I try to keep it as short as possible because this does show up in Google Analytics. So whenever you're reporting and you have a gigantic name, right, then we're dealing with spreadsheets here and numbers. So we want to keep that as short as possible. I try not to put spaces in there. I keep it all lowercase. And if I need a space, I absolutely have to use one. I use an underscore, right? No ampersands or anything like that. So write down that URL. That's going to get you to this spreadsheet right here. And what this spreadsheet does is you have your destination URL, your campaign, traffic source, medium, keyword, ad content, and then what it's going to do for you is instead of, and you can go online, there's a link online to Google in this presentation, you can download it. Instead of going to Google and generating one tag at a time, if you have to generate hundreds of tags, you can just put them all in this spreadsheet real quickly, copy, paste, right? And then get them all done. It'll generate your URLs over here on the right-hand side, and then it has a button to where you can minify all the URLs. So it'll give you the mini URLs, so you can have your programmers go in to your emails or your display campaigns or whatever it might be that you're running and actually put that short URL in there. So it makes a lot of work into a little bit of work, which is always good in marketing. So that's very small, but it says, where do I see the tracking, right? All this great tracking, we're working, we're doing all this stuff. Where do we go to see it? So I just started right as you log in to Google Analytics. It'll take you to the audience overview. This is one of our bloggers for the last 30 days or so. So we're working with a lot of information here. And then what we're going to do is over on the left-hand side, we're going to look at audience, okay? And once you click onto audience, right, then we'll go down to campaigns, and then in all campaigns is where we want to go after that, all right? And inside all campaigns, let me slow down. In all campaigns, what's blurred out here, which I couldn't show, is all the different campaigns that run, whether it's Google DoubleClick, whether it's paid search campaigns, whatever is in here that you've attributed, it's actually going to show in that column, okay? So we're going to slice this up a little bit and try to attribute it. And we're going to go up to the secondary dimensions, type in source. I always do source and medium, right? So once we click on source and medium, it's going to add a second column here for us, right? And then all the information is going to start appearing. So in the campaign, it might say Toyota Summer Sizzler Sale, right? And then on the right-hand side, it'll say B2B, and then / email, or it might say / display, or / retargeting. And how far you want to drill down into what's going on is really up to you at this point. Which tags that you can actually use, because you can type anything in there you want, okay? So if you continue to splice that out, you can go into source medium. Of course, I've cut it off, but on the right-hand side are goals, right? So if we want to take, for instance, we have an intender campaign, and let's say we're talking about strollers, okay? And we're going to be targeting mommy bloggers. We're going to have 160, 200 bloggers writing basically a PR campaign online. We want to give them the tracking so it clicks back to the stroller website so we can attribute, get the analytics, and we see that the source is B2B, right? Then we can say, they say, well, you know, the bounce rate was really high. Well, no, it actually wasn't, because all the links that you got from this particular campaign, we're going to split it out here, and we're going to show them, hey, you know, the bounce rate was at whatever, 31.06%, okay? And they'll say, well, we didn't sell any strollers. And then you can go into your goals and to your web submissions and see how many web submissions you had on a campaign level, okay? And if you have call tracking and you have smart call tracking, which there's lots of call tracking vendors out there, we use one that actually scrapes the keywords. So we know if that came in off the campaign, it'll attribute those calls to the campaign. Once we attribute the calls to the campaign, you can then go, if you want to take it even further, and this is off-site, go into your customer CRM. Let's use car dealers, for instance. We want to track this all the way through to the web submit. Okay, well, we got web submits. Their big thing is, you know, you got 500 web submits, but they were all service. They were all service. Actually, they weren't. They weren't service because they submitted a sales email, and I have a copy of those emails, right? So then if I take the email, I have the name of the email address. I also have a phone number that somebody called in on the call tracking where I scrape keywords out of those calls. If we then come back and take that and do a match back on data to the CRM on what was sold, we can actually calculate a direct ROI for our clients, which ultimately is what we should be doing here. Saying I spent $400 and you made $4,000. If you can do that as an agency, as a person, as a company, as anybody in digital marketing, like I say, today is the greatest day ever to be a digital marketer, because not only can we target people down to an apartment complex on Facebook, right? Not only can we drop a cookie on your browser and chase you around the internet with these awesome car ads, right? Because everybody wants a $299 lease for a Volkswagen Passat, okay? Not only can we take that and different types of retargeting methods, take your IP, and if your wife happens to be looking at a certain brand of perfume, we can do family IP matching, and we can target dad with the same retargeting banner because Mother's Day is coming up and the dude doesn't know what he's going to get her, right? So it's a great day, but we should be tracking this. We should be coming back, because everything that I've showed you so far is absolutely free, okay? It's all free. It's all online. Google actually has a very long blog article about it. You just type in UTM codes. Google will be the first search and first search option. You click on it. It's going to take you down through there, and that's where the UTM generator is too. In this presentation, by the way, there is a bit.ly link, just bit.ly/B2B Confluence, all one word, lowercase. So if you want to go back, this is very introductory, so I wanted everybody to be introduced to UTMs. I want you to be able to take it back to your places of work, your businesses, and actually be able to use it. So I've got a little video here, and I just wanted to display the video and then talk about it a little bit. So,
this is an awareness test. How many passes does the team in white make?
watch careful. Okay.
Go!
The answer is 13.
Anybody get it right?
But did you see the moonwalking bear?
What?
Go!
Okay, so this isn't a plug for this company that I stole this video from, but what this makes sense is that a lot of times digital marketers, I've been in a lot of pitches, right? I've been in a lot of pitches with people in this building, and we're pitching against each other, right? And there's a lot of times that digital marketers will say, hey, we got a 50% click-through rate on this campaign. That's great. You got 2 impressions and 1 click. That's awesome. You know, and that's the dancing bear. Clients don't know. It's up to us to provide meaningful data that can paint a picture of what's going on their website, not meaningful data that will actually get us another account that we're probably, if we get it that way, we're going to lose because we don't know what we're talking about. If you track appropriately, right, if you set up your UTM codes, and there's tons of different ways to track, but an email, you know, the email didn't work, you know. We're getting 18% open rates on our emails right now for car guys. You know, we're getting 4,500 clicks an email out of 50,000 pieces. And we're tracking that back to CRMs. And when I can go to my dealer and take the dancing bear, kick him out the door, make him go away, right? Be responsible and accountable. And go back to your dealers, go back to your clients and say, hey man, we sold 85 cars. And not only that, but this is how much our grosses were off those cars. Because we're the smart people, right? We're the people who are held accountable whenever we do the pay-per-clicks. We're the ones up late at night trying to get the display launched because we have to have it ready by 7 o'clock the next morning in 30 different ad networks. Okay? We're the ones who have to be sure that our clients are being retargeted because they don't see their banners on the website anymore. So we've got to take that threshold up to show it like 14 times instead of 7 times, which is kind of crazy, but clients like to see their stuff on the internet, just like they used to like to see it on TV, you know? I want to run on this station. Well, why? Because that's the station that I watch. Well, you make like $200,000 a year and you're a GM of a car dealership. Do you think that you're buying, do you drive a Honda Civic? Are you looking for a $99 a month payment? I don't think so. Wrong demographic, right? But it's up to us, okay? So that's what I've got for you. A couple little takeaways. I know that I'm like a minute and a half early, so these are my chickens, okay? And it's my goal to give credit where credit is due. Right? So Miss Mama is my chicken. She had a stroke and she walks around in circles all day. No kidding, okay? But she still lays eggs. We just don't know where she's going to lay them, right? She walks around in circles. We have to go get her and put her back in every day. Maddie, Gandalf, Oreo, Mo. Mo is Miss Mama's sister. Fluffy McMuffins, which my son's 13. He's just a hilarious kid. And then because they're my chickens, okay? And it's hard to tell people that I have a chicken named Fluffy McMuffins. It's not manly at all. Charlotte, Snowy, Gretel, and Storm. And that's what chickens have to do with Google Analytics, you guys.
Thank you, Brian. Yeah. That was great. I really appreciate the measured pace for after lunch. You made it very digestible for us.
Good,
Thank
good.
you. Unlike these chickens, which nobody would want to eat. They're very adorable.
Well, no, they lay eggs, so we eat their eggs.
You do. Do you ever, eat them?
No, no,
Good
that's
for
off
you.
limits.
How could you eat poor Mandy? Poor Ms. Mama?
Miss Mama,
Miss Mama.
yeah.
Good
So
for you.
they're pets that make me food. They make me breakfast.
I
every single day.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's great. So thank you. Attribution. I wanted to ask you something that I think possibly a bunch of the audience may be thinking, which is, when I get back to the office, whose responsibility is this? Who's the best person to do this for me? Think small to medium-sized company.
Okay. Who I would go to is whoever's in charge of your Google Analytics. If there's no one in charge of your Google Analytics, then you're going to have to find somebody who really likes spreadsheets. Okay? And everything's exportable. It's all data, and we need to fold it. We need to splice it. We need to organize it into a report that you can then digest it back to your client. That's where there's a missing link in advertising, is on one hand, it doesn't take somebody with a degree in rocket science. However, somebody has to be focused enough to where you can't get the UTMs wrong or the data's all messed up, right? So you have to have somebody with enough attention to detail to where they can set the UTMs up. Depending on what you're doing, I had a media buyer. She was more senior to most of our team. She caught onto it, right off the bat. So she actually builds these UTMs and produces it for display and pre-roll. So,
one follow-up question. I apologize. You guys will have a turn. I also was wondering if you have any examples of a time when UTM codes have changed your behavior, your behavior as a marketer or an advertiser, and maybe just kind of give us some real solid example of that.
okay. A very solid example, VW of McKinney. That's a Randall Reed dealership. It's a big group. He was one of the top 4 dealers in the United States a few years ago, and I've had the opportunity to work with him several occasions. He buys the Volkswagen store. We do nothing different on campaign, on our bids, or anything else. Okay, I'm talking specifically with display. We had a $199 Passat lease, okay, and in the past, I've been known to have some really cheesy car ads. You're talking about cowboys, dinosaurs, hamsters, chia pets, if you name it, I've probably done it. This particular banner was very clean, very, very clean. It had the lease offer, it had the Volkswagen, and it had a disclaimer with a call to action, right? And it got almost 20,000 clicks. UTMs was able to prove that because we didn't just see, there's lots of different levels of advertising running for a car dealership. So instead of just seeing a spike of almost 20,000 sessions, right, we were able to drill down into the UTMs. And instead of going, no, don't fire me, we really did get 20,000, I'm not lying to you, right? We said, well, here's the data. And then here's the clicks through to the campaign. We show them the campaign, and then we address it. It's like a 75% bounce rate, but 25% of 20,000 is still greater than 3,000. So we did really great on that campaign. He sold all of his Passat leases that he had available, and it was a win-win for the client and for the agency.
There's an old adage in advertising. I know that half of my advertising is working. I just couldn't tell you which half.
Who said that?
I have no idea.
P.T. Barnum.
Okay, very good. Thank you. I just got schooled.
I didn't mean to school you. No, that's not it at all. About you. No. Please, MC, please.
I only ever remember the first half of quotes. That bit at the bottom, who said it? No, that's great. Thank you. What this does is it reveals which 50%.
Absolutely.
And that's really powerful. Questions from the audience?
Oh, crap, it's happening.
One at the back, and then we'll get to you, sir, as well.
So, on average time, eggs a day, I'm assuming you don't eat all those. Do you sell them at the farmer's market or?
Yeah, people bring us egg cartons. You know, it's illegal to sell eggs unless you have like one of those health licenses or whatever, and I'm not going to do that. I'm not a farmer. I'm a marketer, for God's sake. I mean, come on, I just got chicken. But we do have a lot of friends, my grandparents, my mother. They bring us egg cartons, we fill them up, and they just go on about their way. So, yeah, it's just fun.
Sir, down here. Hi.
How do you handle multi-touch attribution across devices? Say somebody clicks through on one of those campaign URLs and then converts later.
So let me repeat that question. How do you handle multi-touch attribution across devices? So somebody visits your website on desktop and they're hanging out and you know who they are, then they jump on their iPad and they come back.
Yep, and that's an excellent question. I think Google's actually trying to figure that out right now. Let's take it another level, though. Let's take it another level and say we're the agency of record, so we're doing the TV and the radio as well. So dude wakes up in the morning, he shaves, and then he goes along his way and he hears the car commercial on the way to work, you know, and it says this weekend only. He goes home, he's watching the nightly news, bada bing, bada boom, TV commercial is on, you know. He's actually on his iPad, okay, and then he starts thinking, I want to purchase this car because, you know, this Chrysler shop down here has a really good deal on Dodge Rams, and it's lower than anybody else around. I think I'm starting to believe him. I don't know that it's possible to actually report how those are related, okay? Big thing is Pandora, you know. We've got Pandora, we've got Hulu, right, multi-device, and we've got Netflix, no ads on those yet, Spotify. You know, how do we know that the same person is listening to Spotify here that is on his iPad watching Hulu while they're watching a TV commercial on TV, right? And I don't think that question has been answered. What I can do is get as much data and get as detailed as my clients would like for me to do, because sometimes I make people's eyes bleed and they stop listening to me. And but I get that information, and what we do as marketers is we get as much information as we can, and we read the tea leaves. We tell them what's going on in their marketing, you know. Now, hopefully, at some point, somebody way smarter than me is going to invent something that says, this guy was on Hulu, he listened to Pandora in his Honda Civic that was built in this year, by the way, and then he clicked on the pay-per-click, and then this display actually retargeted him a month half later, and then we attributed that to you know, a $3,200 gross sale, right? So I hope. That's where I'm hoping this is all going. So,
Great question. Any other questions? I have one final question. It relates to business to blogger, because I think that's a really interesting space, and I think it's not something that we're really covering at Confluence this year. But just to summarize, business to blogger put businesses in touch with bloggers to reach their audiences. Is that about right?
that's correct. Yeah.
Maybe you could explain who that's appropriate for. We've got a bunch of marketers, a lot of different companies. Who should be thinking about that as a product?
Any type of agency that does any type of PR online, you know, the lines between PR and marketing have blurred for years, okay? So now we get into comments online, we get into what people are doing with our brands, and what it boils down to is not the story we're telling about a product, right? But it's the story everybody else is telling about our product. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit hoarse, but the story that everybody else is telling about our product, where does our product live, okay? And that's what Business to Blogger does. It's online PR. It's that word of mouth. It's sponsored posts. We have an army of about 10,000 bloggers. These bloggers are sliced and diced and dissected. So they might have a particular genre. It might be tech. It might be automotive. It might be mommy bloggers, which is what we call them, which do parenting type blog tips. It might be crafts. It might be food. Okay, we take a client and we set up a campaign for them with X amount of what we call mega bloggers. Bloggers who have 10 million page views a month, 3 million, 4 million, 100,000. And then we direct them. We send out a ham, or we get a test drive for these folks or whatever it is. And then these bloggers experience this particular product, okay? Like we have one client, it's the zipper sheets for crib sheets for babies, right? And she created this with the hope that she could create a sheet that would keep infants, young babies, from getting tangled up in the sheets and passing away, okay? So she used her experience to build this invention. And what happens, what does that sheet see? You know, if I was a fly on the wall, okay, that sheet would experience the first night that mother ever brought their child home. Okay, I've got 3 kids. It's a pretty big night, all right? It's the first time that a dad tells a bedtime story and walks out the superhero, because I did that too, right? And that sheet experiences it. It protects these kids through years and years of time. Now, how do we wrap that up into a story and put it onto a blog? Then influencers, right? They have thousands of people that come back every month wanting to read their stories, wanting to be a part of their life. You know, like there was a 15, 16-day Get Health Kick, and the mom wore shoes, and the kids wore shoes, and they blogged about it for the whole 15 days. Do you think that was pretty good PR for that company, right? So they wrote about this product and how it interacted with people's lives. Now, on the digital marketing side of it, instead of advertising, right, instead of advertising a product that we're going to do a slasher sale, 50% off this weekend only, click here, buy now, free shipping. Anybody want to buy yet? We can actually do a display campaign and a PPC campaign, or a pre-roll if we shoot video, an intender email that targets mothers or parents, and then we can push it back and we can say, okay, not only do we have these bloggers who have this much influence, but we also have this digital marketing campaign which is pushing people back, and it's saying the top 10 tips you need to know when your kids go back to school, or you know, the best running shoes for athletic practice, or you know, we've got Thanksgiving coming up. This is retail season. You know, turkeys, hams, cranberries, anything that we can send out to our bloggers. Like we did a campaign with some hams. A client, they do hams pretty big, and what they did is they sent out hams, and the moms actually wrote about, you know, the first time they ever cooked a ham for their mother. That's a pretty big deal. You know, that campaign got a lot of traffic, a lot of reach.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Brian, everybody.